Hey guys, we are back today with the first part of a two-part video, which is the second in the series with Mike Thurston, so stay tuned.
So this video is dedicated to those people out there who've been training for 4 or 5 years and are seeing very, very slow progress or almost non-existent progress.
So I'll take that idea a little bit further and I will dedicate the video to anyone out there who is over 30, maybe over 40, and whose progress has slowed down recently or even stalled. Let us talk about how to accelerate your progress once again. Here is the story. So for a period of about 5 years in my 30s, I thought, yep, I have everything dialed in. I'm lifting consistently, lifting heavy. Felt like my execution of my exercises was good. My nutrition I thought was on point, eating healthy. I was dealing with what I thought was a normal level of stress, thought I was getting enough sleep. I was like, hey, I'm still young, that's not an issue. I still just couldn't make the progress that I thought I should be making. Didn't know why. If that sounds like anything you're experiencing, if you are in your 30s, if you've been lifting for a while, and somehow, for some reason, you can't understand it, you're just not making the progress that you expect to be making, we're gonna walk through some of the things that could be an issue for you. So keep watching. Hopefully the bits of information we provide along the way and the insight is gonna help you guys.
Now, if that is you, then you need to really look at what you're doing. Okay, 3 separate areas you need to look at: either your training, your nutrition, and just your lifestyle outside of the gym. Okay, because something within those areas is not quite as good as it could be.
When I look back, there are definitely a few things which slowed down my rate of progress. The first one is my exercise execution. Yep, I thought it was good. I thought it was great, good form. I now know that that is not true. That was not true back then. And no excuses. I didn't take the time to find good information about exercise execution. That's on me. Second thing is I thought my nutrition was on point. I was eating healthy. I was preparing mostly my own meals. I now know that not knowing what my caloric intake was and not paying attention really in any quantitative sense to what my macros were a big mistake. And not thinking about how to align those with my goals, also a big mistake. And then finally, I wasn't really controlling things outside of the gym that could potentially or definitely did have an impact on my progress and, levels of stress, sleep, hydration, and so on. So those things held me back.
Okay, so let's take, for example, training. The main culprits of people not seeing progress tend to be poor execution of exercises. Either the form is completely off, or the muscle groups are taking over, they're not placing tension on the working muscle.
Now, for sure, execution is one of the major, if not the major factor that limits the progress that some people are able to achieve. And really what it boils down to is remain stable, make sure you're in control, generate tension in the muscles that you're intending to work, and worry a little bit less about the weight, at least initially, that you're using for an exercise. Relating to the idea of control, select those exercises that are gonna give you the most benefit. So really those are gonna be the exercises where you can remain stable. Those are gonna be the exercises where you have a pretty good range of motion that you're able to control. Use those, focus on those, keep it simple. And for example, if you're doing a bicep curl and you're giving it a little bit of a hop with your knees and you're arching your lower back a little bit, then maybe either pick a different exercise where you're less likely to do that or decrease the weight so that you can actually use your bicep. And that's the sort of thing that we all need to be smart about pretty much at any age or stage of our lifting career, but certainly, in your 30s and your 40s, you really need to start to get even smarter about the way you lift and what exercises you're choosing.
And the other issue tends to be just a lack of intensity. Okay, so a lot of people tend to get caught up in the rhythm of just doing what they've always done. Okay, not pushing themselves, staying within that area of comfort. And it's only until they're really pushed, usually if they're training with someone else or they're getting coached by someone else, that they're like, holy crap, there's this whole other level which I didn't think was possible. And sometimes it's just a case of having that confidence to bump the weight up a little bit when they might not have done so if they were training alone.
So that might seem like the complete opposite of what we just recommended in terms of staying in control, perhaps using a lighter weight. Now we're talking about challenging load. Does that make sense? Well, yes, it does, but in context. So make sure that you're stable, make sure that you're focusing your execution to start with. Once you have the movement pattern dialed in, once you have the degree of stabilization dialed in, then start to challenge yourself in other ways, whether it be rep tempo, volume, so sets and reps, or varying your rest period and so on, and then really challenge yourself with load. You want to be able to break down muscle as you go through your workout, so really start to challenge yourself now with increasing the weight. And I'll touch on one thing relating to weight. So if you, like me, have had previous injuries in the past, there's definitely a psychological component to those injuries. So even after you're long physically healed, you're left with the idea that you shouldn't lift heavy at all because it was lifting a heavy weight, usually, that triggered the injury. But I'd like you to reframe that a little bit and consider that it's not necessarily the weight you were lifting, but the degree of instability that you experienced for a split moment at a particular point in the range of motion using a particular weight or load that you weren't able to control, shifting the tension to some place it shouldn't be, usually onto your joint, that triggered the injury. So if we go back to the principle of establishing a solid movement pattern in terms of your execution, ensuring that you're stable, ensuring that you can control the extremes of a range of motion, and then being strong at that point or those points along the range using a specific weight, then you're in good shape. So keep that in mind, dial in your execution, remain stable, control what you have, and then you're able to progress with your weight. All right, so we've tackled potential training issues from a few different perspectives, and hopefully the insight and advice from both Mike and myself has been beneficial to you guys. Part 2 coming up, looking at a few other factors that might be influencing the rate at which you're progressing or challenges that you're having in order to achieve the progress that you envision. So stay tuned, part 2 coming up shortly. As usual, guys, let me know your thoughts, any questions or comments that you might have by leaving a comment below. As always, if you found the information beneficial, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe so that you not only receive notification for part 2 of this video, but for other videos in this series with Mike and many other videos to come. And if you haven't already, I can't understand why you haven't, but if you haven't, go ahead, subscribe to Mike's channel. The link is also in the description below. Until the next time, guys, aloha from Hawaii.